Starting discussion on the subjective paper, which was of 50 marks. First question is, determine the assessable value under customs law of an imported machine based on the following information. Now, cost of machine, contract price was rupees 1 lakh, revised price was rupees 2 lakh, and negotiated and agreed price is rupees 1,50,000. So we'll be considering negotiated and agreed price. This will be the transaction value. This is the transaction value. Freight from factory of the exporter to the port of shipment, that is 20,000 rupees, and freight incurred from port of entry to ICD. It will not form the part of the assessable value. Handling charges for loading the machine at the port in the ship. The loading charges at load port will be included, and demurrage charges which have been paid at port. This will form the part of cost of transport. This is forming the part of cost of transport. Buying commission paid by importer, same will not be included in the assessable value. Same will not be included what? In AV. Then commission paid to local agent appointed by the exporter, 1,000 rupees. This commission will be included in the AV. Local agent's commission will be included. Vendor inspection charges, which is not required under the contract. It won't form the part of the assessable value because it's not under the obligation. Now here, it has been provided that we are required to determine the assessable value. So cost of transport is not given. That is cost of transport from port, that is from the load port to the port of shipment, and loading, unloading and handling charges which has been incurred before the place of importation, that has not been provided. So in such case it will be what? 20% of the customs FOB value. Now here the agreed price is 150. We will be adding this freight from factory of the exporter to port of shipment, 20,000, and we will also be including handling charges of the machine and the local agent's commission. So it works out to be 1,76,000 rupees. It works out to be 1,76,000 rupees. This is basically customs FOB value. This will be customs FOB value, and 20% of it, 20% of this will be the cost of transport. And basically, as per the approach of the institute, this cost of transport and say loading, unloading and handling charges associated with delivery of the imported goods to the place of importation. Basic thing is that, so this includes what? This 20,000, this 5,000, and whatever further charges have been incurred. So this 25,000 is also included where? In the cost of transport, which works out to be how much? 176 into 20%. There is 35,200. So in this 35,200, this is included, and besides that, demurrage charges also included. So fundamentally, this will be covered under the ambit of cost of transport, 35,200. Besides this, we will also be incurring insurance charges. Since it is not ascertainable, it will be 1.125% of the customs FOB, and customs FOB is 176 in this case. So 1,76,000 into 1.125%, it works out to be 1980. So the assessable value works out to be 180. So fundamentally, cost of machine has been provided, local agent commission will be included, buying commission will not be included, vendor inspection charges will not be included. Half of marks have been assigned for this. Then freight from factory of the exporter to the load port, handling charges. That gives you what? Together, it gives you the FOB value. We will be adding cost of transport, 20% of the FOB value, but this is included in cost of transport. Demurrage charges were also included where? In the cost of transport. Then we are insurance charges. It will be 1.125% of the customs FOB value. Freight from port to ICD will not form the part of the assessable value. This is basically CIF value for the purpose of charging the duty of customs. So this question was asked for 5 marks. Along with the working notes, you have to properly write the working notes. What will be the transaction value? That is the renegotiated price will be the transaction value. Local agents commission is includable. Then cost of transport, loading, unloading and handling charges, which is associated with the delivery of the imported goods at the place of importation, they are included in the assessable value, and in case the same is not ascertainable, it is taken as 20% of the FOB value. FOB value here works out to 176. 20% of the same we will be working out. Insurance charges will be adding. Buying commission will not be included. Freight from factory, from port of import to the ICD will not be included. Lending charges will not be added because earlier 1% of the CIF value was lending charges, same will not be added. And with there is no requirement in the contract for independent inspection, and independent inspection has been carried out by the foreign supplier on his own, then it will not be forming the part of the assessable value, and the same has been judicially decided by the Supreme Court in Bombay Dyeing and Manufacturing Company's case. Now next question is, Mr. X has imported a machine from Japan in June 2019 for rupees 50 lakhs. However, the machine was exported in December 2019 for repairs. The supplier has agreed to carry out repairs as the machine was still in warranty period, which would normally take 6 months. The fair cost of repairs is rupees 10 lakhs, and in the meantime, X has requested the supplier to provide another machine so that he can carry out his operations without hindrance. Acceding to the request, the supplier has provided him another machine which was imported in February. So during the time frame, another machine has been imported. The value of the new machine is rupees 55 lakhs, and freight charges were rupees 2 lakhs, and you are required to compute the assessable value and total duty payable for the above transaction for the replacement. So here basically it is not a case of re-importation where the benefit of exemption will be available. In this case, since the new machine, this replacement machine is different, hence what happens is the benefit of the exemption will not be available, which has been provided. Exemption has been provided in case if the machine which has been sent for repairs is subsequently re-imported after such repairs have been carried out. Then in that case, we have to say pay what on the fair cost of repairs, insurance charges both ways, and transportation charges both ways, that will be forming the part of the value. But here the exported goods and goods re-imported at the time of re-importation, the machine is different. Therefore, benefit of this notification will not be available. Concessional notification will not be available. So, on custom duty will be leviable on the entire new value of the machine, that is rupees 55 lakhs. Here, FOB value as per the customs is rupees 55 lakhs. Then we will be adding insurance charges and freight. This will give you the CIF value on which you will be required to pay the custom duty. Basically, what is the basic custom duty here? Basic custom duty is 10%, IGST is 12%. So the assessable value works out to be 55 lakh rupees, that is the FOB value. We will be adding cost of transport. It has been provided in the question. Cost of transport is 2 lakh rupees, and cost of insurance will be 1.125% of 55 lakh rupees. It will be 55 into 1.125%, 61875. So here the assessable value works out to be 57 lakh 61,875. Then we will be adding what? Basic custom duty. क्या जोड़ेंगे आप? Basic custom duty जोड़ेंगे at rate of 10%. That is 5,761,875. Then you will be adding what? Social welfare surcharge at rate of 10% of the basic custom duty. Social welfare surcharge जोड़ा जाएगा at rate of 10% of the basic custom duty 57618.75. Then we'll be adding on the sum total. On the sum total, we'll be adding integrated tax. So on 63,95,681.25, we'll be adding IGST under section 37 at rate of 12%. It has been provided in the question. IGST will be added on 63,95,181. This way, this will be the total custom duty payable. Next question is, what are the ways that would constitute circumvention of countervailing duty on subsidized article imposed on any article that may warrant the central government based on inquiry as it may consider necessary for purpose of section 9(1)(a) of the Customs Tariff Act. Now, as you have seen, in anti-dumping duty circumvention takes place, then government can levy the anti-dumping duty. Similarly, in this countervailing duty on subsidized article, an amendment has been made. So to evade that duty, if you are changing the description of the article or the name of the article or say composition of the article on which the duty has been levied, or say the article has been imported in a completely knocked down condition, और से इट इज इम्पोर्टेड इन सॉमी नॉकडाउन कंडीशन, पार्ट्स में इंपोर्ट कर लिया आपने, मशीन पे अगर उन्होंने ड्यूटी लगाई है सीवीडी या एंटी डंपिंग ड्यूटी, आप उसको कंप्लीटली नॉकडाउन या सेमी नॉकडाउन कंडीशन में अनअसेंबल्ड या डिसअसेंबल्ड फॉर्म में इंपोर्ट करने लग गए, उसका नाम बदल दिया, उसका डिस्क्रिप्शन बदल दिया, उसकी कंट्री ऑफ ओरिजिन या एक्सपोर्ट बदल दी, जिससे कि ये ड्यूटी नहीं लगा पाए, इवेड हो जाए वो ड्यूटी, तो फिर क्या है, गवर्नमेंट क्या कर सकती है, वो काउंटरवेलिंग ड्यूटी इंपोज कर सकती है जिस भी फॉर्म के अंदर, जिस भी मैनर के अंदर अनअसेंबल्ड फॉर्म में आए, डिसअसेंबल्ड फॉर्म में आए, जिस भी नाम से आए, जिस भी कंट्री से आए, गवर्नमेंट क्या लगा सकती है, उस पर काउंटरवेलिंग ड्यूटी लगा सकती है. अब नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखिए, डिटरमाइन द कस्टम ड्यूटी पेएबल अंडर द कस्टम्स टैरिफ एक्ट 1975 इंक्लूडिंग सेफगार्ड ड्यूटी of 30% under section 8B of the said act with the following details. सोडियम नाइट्रेट इंपोर्ट किया है डेवलपिंग कंट्री से, और डेवलपिंग कंट्री से अगर अपना इंपोर्ट होता है और 3% से कम है, इट डज नॉट एक्सीड वॉट 3%, देन नो सेफगार्ड ड्यूटी कैन बी लेविड. अपन ये देखेंगे कि इस कंट्री से जो इंपोर्ट हो रहा है उसमें इसका कितना शेयर है ऑफ टोटल इंपोर्ट्स ऑफ दैट आर्टिकल इनटू इंडिया. तो हियर value has been provided 30 lakh rupees. Share of imports of sodium nitrate from the developing country against total imports of sodium nitrate into India, it's 4%. So since it exceeds 3%, government can levy safeguard duty. Now basic custom duty rate is 10%, integrated tax is what, 18%, GST cess is nil, and social welfare surcharge is 10%. Now we are required to compute the duty. So here basically the assessable value will be 30 lakh rupees. AV. Now basic custom duty is levied at rate of 10%, that is 3 lakh rupees. Social welfare surcharge is levied at rate of 10% of the basic custom duty. Safeguard duty is not included for the purpose of levy of social welfare surcharge, so it will be 30,000 rupees. Safeguard duty will be levied separately. They say at rate of 30% safeguard duty has been imposed, so 9 lakh rupees. Now, in this will be the value for the purpose of levy of integrated tax. This is value for levy of integrated tax. Now, it will be 42 lakh 30,000 rupees. On this, integrated tax is levied at rate of 18%. IGST is levied at rate of क्या? 18% on 40 to 30. So 761, 400. This way, the calculation will be worked out and you will be writing the note. Safeguard duty is imposable here. In given case, since the share of imports of sodium nitrate from developing country is more than kya 3% of the total imports of that article into India. Next question is, Dream and Desires Industries has challenged the imposition of anti-dumping duty retrospectively from a date prior to the date of imposition of anti-dumping duty on the grounds that it is unconstitutional. Explain whether it will succeed. Well, it cannot succeed. In case if there is a massive imports in relatively short period of time, so whenever the provisional ADD is imposed, whatever imports have taken place within 90 days prior to the date of such provisional duty, prior to date of imposition of provisional duty, here they can levy what? The, anti-dumping duty retrospectively also. So, the contention of Dream Industries is not as such correct. If these conditions are satisfied, then they can levy what? Retrospectively also. So, here there is a history of dumping which has caused injury to the importer, or here the importer is aware that exporter practices dumping, and that dumping would cause a injury, and the injury is caused by massive dumping of an article imported in relatively short period of time. So in that particular circumstance, they will what? They have the power to levy duty retrospectively also, and whatever imports have been made within a period of 90 days prior to the date of imposition of the provisional duty, for that retrospective levy can be imposed. Next question is, Lakshmi imported goods valued rupees, Lakshmi company imported goods valued rupees 10 lakhs, via a bill of entry before the proper officer on 15th of December 2019, on which the rate of custom duty was 20%. The proper officer decided the goods should be subject to chemical and other tests, and they were provisionally assessed for 10 lakh rupees, and Lakshmi paid provisional duty on the same date. So they have paid the provisional duty on 15th of December 2019, amounting rupees 2 lakhs. And proper officer has resorted to what? The provisional assessment under section 18. Now Lakshmi Limited wants to voluntarily pay duty of 1,50,000 on January 1st. And 20th January they want to pay duty. Voluntarily they want to pay further duty of 1,50,000. Can they do so? Yes, definitely they can make the further payment of this further provisional duty until the assessment is finalized. But the basic fundamental condition is the same amount will not be refunded. Same will not be refunded until finalization of assessment. Whatever amount is deposited, and it is to be deposited along with the interest. The said amount is to be deposited basically along with the interest, and interest will run at rate of 15% per annum, and the same will run from the first day of the month in which the duty was provisionally assessed, and till the date of the payment of this much amount. And whatever bonds have been executed, the terms and conditions of the bond and the security so furnished will remain unaltered. So fundamental thing is what? Can they make provisional payment? Well, yes. Determine the amount of interest payable, if any, under section 18, assuming that payment of 150 as stated above is made on 20th January, and final duty assessed is 4 lakh, and balance is paid on the same day, on 31st of January. So 4 lakhs is the final duty assessed. We have already paid 2 lakh rupees initially, 1,50,000. So here 50,000 rupees is the additional amount payable, and this will also be payable along with the interest, and interest will run in this case from 1st of December 2019 to the date 31st of January 2020. So how much amount of interest will be calculated on this 50,000 rupees? It is for at rate of 15% per annum, and this is for how many days? 61 days. That is 31 days, 62 days basically. 31 days for the December and 31 days for the January. So this much amount of interest will be calculated. So here the interest will be calculated on 150 also. So it will be 150 on 1,50,000, whatever amount of interest they are requiring to calculate. That will be from 1st of December 2019 till 20th of, this has been paid on 20th of January 2020. So basically it will be 1,50,000 from 1st of December for 51 days to 21st of December 2019 to 20th of January 2020 for 51 days at rate of 15% per annum. So it works out to be 3144 rupees. And here actually it will be 20, and the calculation will be of how many days? 31 days for December and 31 days for January, 62 days. And if we calculate 50,000 into 15% into 62 divided by 365, or you can take as a leap year for 366 days. So it works out to 50,000 into 15% into 62 divided by 365. This is 1274. So the total interest payable in such case will be 3144 plus 1274. That is 4418 is the interest amount payable. So this was one question which has been asked for 5 marks. Next is Acme sales imports were being provisionally assessed pending verification in the department was carrying out. Upon completion of the verification, the assessment were finalized and Acme sales were required to pay 12 lakhs, which was paid which it paid. After 6 months, upon detailed scrutiny of the verification report and after taking legal opinion, Acme sales filed a refund of rupees 8 lakhs on the ground that differential amount of 4 lakh was should be 4 lakh only, and there was a factual error in the verification report. What they have said is they have paid 12 lakh rupees, and subsequently they say that 4 lakh rupees is only required to be paid and 8 lakh rupees must be refunded. Then they have made a refund claim. Is this correct mode of redressal of Acme sales? What will be likely the outcome of the claim? Discuss on the basis of the decided case law. Now here, in Supreme Court's ruling in Priya Blue Industries case, here the Supreme Court has decided in Priya Blue Industries case, as well as the ITC Limited case, where Supreme Court has held that without challenging the assessment order in appeal, direct application for refund cannot be made. So here, refund claim is not permissible in this situation. First of all, assessee is agreed by the assessment order, then he has to seek a redressal of what? Appellate remedy. He has to go and file an appeal to the concerned appellate authority. Besides, they cannot directly make an application for claim of refund. जब अगर आप assessment order से aggrieved हैं, तो उस केस के अंदर आप उसको चैलेंज करेंगे कमिश्नर अपील्स के समक्ष, और फिर वो आगे डिसाइड करेंगे कि आपको रिफंड मिलना है या नहीं मिलना है. डायरेक्टली आप क्या है, रिफंड क्लेम अप्लाई नहीं कर सकते हैं. उस केस के अंदर रिफंड क्लेम डायरेक्ट नहीं हो सकता है. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखिए. पायल, a company is a unit located in agri export zone, has made export of machines worth $30 lakhs per annum on average basis during what? The last 3 years and in current year. It wants to export certain goods for export promotion free of cost basis. So here, which was worth 25 lakhs, $1 is barabar rupees 50. Examine whether Payal can export promotion goods on free of cost basis, which is which has been proposed. So in case if it is this Payal and company has been accorded a status of 1-star export house or above, then it can what? Export on free of cost basis. What? For export promotion material, whatever is the average exports in last 3 years, 2% of the same, it can export it. So here fundamentally, first of all, since it is located where? In agri export zone, it will be given a double weightage, whatever is the export performance. So the export performance is $30 lakhs on average basis. So double weightage is what? It works out to be $60 lakhs, that is 6 million. So here it will be given a status of 1-star export house, and in this particular circumstance it can export whatever is the average export obligation. Then for 2% of the same, it can export material free of cost basis for export promotion. So it's 30 lakhs, $, exchange rate is 50, 2% of this, it is 1500 into 2%, 30 lakhs material it can export. So it can export material worth rupees what? 25 lakhs. Next question is, Mr. Suresh is an Indian resident and an engineer by profession, was engaged in his profession in USA for 9 months, and is bought with him on 10/4/2019 the following used items. So he has brought along with him the following used items. They are asking, this information has been provided, and they are saying you are required calculate the custom duty payable by him if the rate of duty on baggage is 35% and respect of other goods is say 100%, and social welfare surcharge is what? Applicable. So basically duty free allowance in this case will be given on account of transfer of residence. Here he can bring goods worth rupees 1 lakh duty free, which have been given in Annexure 3. Besides this, he will be getting general free allowance of rupees. GFA will be also provided of rupees 50,000, but he will not be given duty free allowance in respect of jewelry. Let us see what happens here is use personal effects, that is exempt under general free allowance. Then digital video displayer 15,000 can be brought, music system can be brought, air conditioner of 54,000 can be brought here, microwave oven 28,000, and fax machine 32,000. And here domestic refrigerator of capacity 320 liters. Now here the capacity exceeds 300 liters, so it will not be accommodated where in this transfer of residence allowance. It won't be accommodated in transfer of residence allowance. So he will be getting the benefit of 50,000 rupees of GFA and 1 lakh for transfer of residence. Duty will be payable on this baggage at rate of what? The 35%. Beside this, on value of refrigerator, duty will be payable at rate of 100%, and the same will be increased by social welfare surcharge at rate of 10%. So basically, this way we will be getting half marks here. Domestic refrigerator, half marks. Total value, this is a 4 marks. Therefore, this half marks. Duty liability half marks, and this is 1 marks. Likewise, this way we will be calculating the liability. So half, 1, 2, and this is a duty liability in this case, 3 and 1 marks for that. Next is question number 5A. Question number 5A. Tarun Private Limited is a manufacturer, wants to import capital goods in CKD condition, completely knocked down condition, from foreign country and assemble the same in India. The import of capital goods will be under project imports, and capital goods will be used on pre-production process. The final products of Tarun Private Limited will be supplied in SEZ. Tarun Private Limited wishes to sell the capital goods imported as soon as the production process starts. Now here, Tarun Private Limited seeks your advice whether it can avail the benefit of EPCG scheme, and assuming that all the other conditions of EPCG are fulfilled in the above case. So on pre-production basis also, under export promotion capital goods scheme, capital goods can be imported, and we have to fulfill the export obligation. And what basically the export obligation is? 6 times of the duty saved in a period of 6 years. Now here, if exports to SEZ units, also SEZ developers or co-developers, the same will be considered for discharging the export obligation under EPCG license. And here, first of all, we have to fulfill the export obligation, and when the export obligation is fulfilled, then only the capital goods can be disposed of. So import of capital goods is subject to what? The actual user condition until the export obligation is completed. So that is an important point. So they want to import, they can, but this export obligation will be fulfilled, then only they will be allowed to sell the goods in the market. Next question is, X Limited imported a machine from USA under EPCG scheme with 0 custom duty in financial year 2021 for production of product P. Custom duty otherwise payable is 20 lakhs. What is the specific export obligation? So 20 lakhs into 6, 120 lakhs. This 6 times. Same is to be achieved in a period of 6 years. Then they ask us what is the average export obligation? Average export obligation is whatever export obligation has been achieved within a period of 3 years, preceding 3 years, that is 80 plus 72 plus 45 divided by 3. This is the average export obligation. 80 plus 72 plus 45. That is 65.67 is the average export obligation. It is to be achieved within the overall export obligation within 6 years reckoned from the date of the issue of the authorization. So here export obligation, basically it consists of the average export obligation and specific export obligation also, and when these obligations are fulfilled, then only the authorization will be redeemed. Next question is, write a short note on prohibition and regulation of drawback with reference to the provisions of section 76. Now what section 76 provides is prohibition and regulation of drawback. So first of all, if the no DBK if the market price of goods exported is less than the drawback. That is one mark. And drawback will not be allowed. If the amount of drawback is less than rupees 50, drawback will not be admissible if the amount of drawback is less than 50. And in case the central government is the opinion that the goods are likely to be smuggled back into India, then drawback will not be admissible. Alternatively, the drawback will be admissible subject to fulfillment of the conditions, restrictions and conditions as may be specified therein. One more question is there. An exporter exported 4,000 pairs of shoes at rate of 940 per pair. 4,000 pairs have been exported at 940 per pair. All industry rate is 10% of FOB value. This is the all industry rate, 10% of FOB value. That is 4,000 into 940 into 10%. 3,76,000 is the amount here, subject to maximum of 95 per pair. 4,000 into 95. That is 3,80,000. How much drawback is admissible? 376. They are asking, the exporter found that the actual duty paid is 470. He wishes to apply for special brand rate. He will not be eligible to claim all industry rate. Remember that. If you apply for brand rate, you will not be eligible to claim all industry rate. And we will be eligible only if the amount of drawback as per the all industry rate is less than what? 80%. 80% of 470, 3,76,000. Since it is not less than what? 3,76,000. In this particular case, he will not be eligible to apply for what? The special brand rate. He won't be eligible to apply for the special brand rate. It is exact 80% therefore. Then next question is, can a manufacturer instead of importing inputs source the same indigenously without payment of GST? Answer the following questions with reference to duty credit scripts under export from India schemes. That is the MEIS or SEIS schemes. So here the duty credit scripts basically cannot be utilized. It's not utilized for payment of GST on procurement of inputs from domestic sources. An exporter has exported leather footwear through using e-commerce platform of 24,000. Can he apply for duty credit scripts under MEIS? Yes, you can export through e-commerce platform up to rupees 5 lakh per consignment. In that case, you will be eligible for duty credit script under MEIS. Then one more question was there. Explain the provisions relating to import of goods as gifts under foreign trade policy. So here earlier this is amendment which has been carried out in FTP with effect from 12/12/2019. Now here the imports are prohibited, which were earlier free. They are prohibited except for what? Life-saving drugs and medicines and Rakhis, but not gifts related to Rakhis. So this is an important one, can be asked in your examination. So earlier the import of gifts were free, where such goods were otherwise freely importable under the foreign trade policy. In other cases, we were required authorizations. But however, amendment has been carried out which provides that now import of goods, whatever goods have been imported, including those which have been purchased from e-commerce portal or through, say, port, post or courier, when customs clearance sought as gifts, the same will be prohibited except for life-saving drugs and medicines and Rakhis, but not gifts related to Rakhi. Rakhi will be exempted under section 25(6), that no duty shall be collected if the amount of duty is equal to or less than rupees 100 for the import of gifts with payment of full duty is what? Permissible. So this was our customs subjective paper, and this is an amendment. Refer this amendment from examination point of view. It's very important. Can be asked in your foreign trade policy also. And we have discussed the practical questions. Case-based study also has been covered here, as well as the theoretical questions have been covered. Though customs, foreign trade policy is a very big topic. So you can go for the schemes, MEIS scheme, EPCG scheme, SEIS scheme. Then you can go for the export houses, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, trade houses. You can go for the same. So basically do the practical questions there, which have been given in our book. If you do those practical questions, you can score marks in foreign trade policy also, though the subject is very lengthy in comparison to weightage, which has been allotted to the entire customs, because it can be asked the multiple choice questions also. So remember this, and try to do all the questions by your hand. Practice the practical problems by your hand. Important topics are, say, baggage is important, as we have seen. Valuation is evergreen. Classification, types of duties. Questions are asked from this. Types of duties and duty drawback. These are the practical ones for section 18 also. 15, date for determination of rate of duty and tariff valuation in case of imported goods. Export goods, 16. Besides this, we have 18, which is dealing with provisional assessment. 19 for the liability of goods imported in set. 13, pilferage. 22, as we have discussed, abatement of duty on damaged and deteriorated goods. And 23, remission of duty on lost or destroyed goods. They are asking practical questions relating to re-importation also under section 20. So focus much more on practical questions, and these topics are important ones for the customs, and you can score very good marks in customs also. So prepare, examinations are coming nearby now. Don't waste your time. Study hard to score, say, very good marks from your examination. You must score exemption marks in IDT. Subject is simple. You can do it, and you should have self-confidence. Important aspect is your working notes. Working notes are very, very important. Be clear, precise in writing your working notes. Thank you very much.